All right, so with the last example, we were just doing some very simple arithmetic, and we were using the console.log to output the results of that arithmetic. Now, you all have taken some programming before, so the notion of variables is also something that you're accustomed to. What's interesting about JavaScript is that JavaScript doesn't differentiate between strings and numbers. So if you were to put a 5, you don't need to declare that it's an integer or a double or a float or anything else. You just sort of say var. And it automatically detects the type. Now it's okay then to add them together, and then this also knows that they're of type integer. So then I can log it, and then I can also place, I can do get element by ID, which is probably pretty easy for you now. Get element by ID. It's probably something that you're just, boom, knowing about. In the past, when we've taught JavaScript, we focused on a lot of other things before we've talked about get element by ID. Now, get element by ID is challenging, and it's not something that you just get the first time. You need to see it repetitiously, but once you see the repetitions, then you've got it, and that's it. It's no more complex than that. So if you're feeling okay with the get element by ID, that's good, because that's the hardest part of JavaScript. I'm trying to think of things that are challenging about JavaScript, and once you've got get element by ID, there's really nothing. There's very little else to teach you. Does that make sense? You should get this notification. This light should go on and say, "Okay, you are now done with learning programming." That's okay. And let me say that the programming is not what is challenging you. It's actually the implementation. It's the how do we make a product that matters? What should we be asking the users to do? How do we make something more human? Those are harder questions, right? The coding for you guys, for you all, is the good part. That's the part that you should look forward to. Now, let's go ahead and run this, the arithmetic example. And let's just see, all we're doing is we're just putting, 11. But we're just putting 11 on the screen. 5 plus 6, is 11. But we're moving that 11, which is y, y is going to equal to 11. We're moving that y data back into the HTML markup. So that's pretty cool. That means that you guys can create data, you guys can do calculations, and then you can show the public the result of calculations. So you can work for a mortgage website, you can work for a betting website, you can work for a bank. How much money is in the account? What just happened? Add things together and then show people. You can work on a stock exchange where there's a lot of number and text rolling around. And so what I find interesting is when I look behind the scenes, I should have gotten an 11 on my console, which on YouTube is probably looking tiny. Your screen, if you full screen on YouTube, is probably the same thing as mine. You've got the 11 right there, and then you've got the 11 right there on the screen, because naturally you calculated 11, then you logged the 11, and then you displayed the 11. So let me say this. You're now basically equipped to do 80% of any given website. And here is the body of that, which is, take some data, transform it, run it through some logical process, and then allow the user to see what's happening. And I guess for you guys, if week 1 you're able to do that now, but think about the practicality of that if you do that on a massive scale. If we take this JavaScript, we put it on a server, we allow a lot of people to look at it, and then if we have a bigger business process that we add, so maybe somebody gets to bet on the score of an upcoming football game, or maybe somebody wants to find out what their astrology is. There's all sorts of interesting text and data transactions that you guys can think of that probably you can do better than anybody else. But these are going to be the building blocks. And that get element by ID, that's a big part of it. If you can live with this. Now, if get element by ID is a quandary for you, Google it, look for the prior videos, and once you understand get element by ID, you really understand how to move data between your JavaScript out into the public internet, which is HTML. JavaScript is going to be somewhat silent. People won't know it's there until they see the results of it that are happening right there. Okay. So that's going to be really important. Now, let me just kind of copy all of this, and let's do one or two more samples, and that should round out this week. So let's go sample 7, which is going to be a switch case, that HTML, and this is going to be a little bit new. So let's keep our paragraph up top, and then let's go ahead and do something new with JavaScript. And what I might just do is, formatting is important, but largely on the open web, we're going to try to eliminate white space wherever possible. This is white space right here. It's just, it's just filler. And in fact, that white space appears inside of your editors because of invisible Unicode that appears there. So white space, this space, that's actually a character. And so if we upload white space to the internet, then the internet will push around your white space. So there's some motivation to eliminate the white space, so to make your code fly faster over the open internet, which is exciting to think about. So when you look at a lot of JavaScript, frequently the white space is removed. It's almost unreadable. You guys don't need to do it right now, but it's something that you'll probably be thinking about later. Just so that you don't go to Yahoo and then put lots of big spaces in your JavaScript. Please don't do that at Yahoo. They will tell you something brilliant. So let's set up a little example where we're using the switch, which is kind of a series of very efficient if-else, which are rendered in order. If-else works very nicely within JavaScript. So I want to get the current day that we're in. And in the case of that we get 0, the day from that is going to be Sunday. And then we're going to break out of the loop at that point. Now in the case that it's 1, day is going to be Monday. And again, we're going to break. Now case 2, and you get the sense that date is going to put out integer results, and those will map to different calendar days. And we're just decoding the results of get day. A day is going to be Wednesday. See how much fun this is. Not tough, but probably just required a little scholarship to find the results of the get day. And we can talk more about how to add a scholarly element to your daily programming. You're probably like, yay, adding a scholarly element. But, you guys are going to be hungry for new features. How can you add more deeper professionalism? And we can talk about that just at the end of today. So our day is going to be Saturday, and of course Saturday is the 6th day of the week, and is equal to Sunday. I've got a new laptop, so the keys are very easy to use. So I'm moving a little fast, and that's going to be, well, actually Sunday I believe is already covered, so I don't think we need to get 7, my bad. But just in case nothing else works, your default day is going to be unknown. For example, you, for some reason, don't get the results, and that will automatically break out of that. So switch case is like a series of if-else that render, but switch case need to have integer inputs, or it needs to evaluate integers in order to move through it. So switch case can't use strings to move through. And of course our paragraph there is of ID result. And so what I'll do is I'll say get element by ID result. inner HTML is going to be equal to, and we'll say, hi, today is date. Very similar to the Java that you're accustomed to. Now, which brings me to my next message, which is that, and you can see how that works, you know, O or the O day or the first day, the 0 day is Sunday, and just go forward until day 6, which is Saturday. Default is unknown, and then we'll take the result of our little logic call, and then we'll output the string. But let me say this, doesn't this look like something out of Java? You know, it really does. And let me just say that JavaScript and the programming language of Java have kind of grown up in a similar time. Java's a bigger sibling. Java's a little bit older, which would have come of age, you know, 1998, 1999. I'd love for somebody from Sun Microsystems to correct that, but roughly as the decade was turning, Java became very important. There was this initial idea that there were applets, which were little programs that would run that would be embedded inside of web pages. You could code pure Java that would be downloaded by web pages. Let me just say the internet was fascinated and very passionate about applets, but as a technology, other languages such as Flash, I think, got in the way of Java becoming the language of the internet. So instead, JavaScript, this language that you're learning, kind of became more popular than Java when it came to running little applications on web pages themselves. Now, if you look at very big public systems like AdSense or Twitter, Java back on the server, not on the web page, but back on the server is very, very important. Java is just gains ground every year against its competitors in terms of the very fast language that runs back in the server room. But when it comes to JavaScript, JavaScript is meant to look and feel like Java with these wonderful dots, highly readable, very expressive, very simple, yet very rich. And let's get a sample running as I give you a little internet history. Great, today is Thursday, that's accurate. You can see not a lot happening in the console, but here's your code there. But JavaScript is meant to look and feel like Java. But let me say this, there is no Java in JavaScript. JavaScript merely tries to feel like Java. JavaScript learns from the sensuality of Java, and that people love to code it. It sticks with you. It's hard to forget. Java had the ability to have those early attributes. Nowadays, a lot of code looks like Python or Ruby. It's even more abbreviated. But when I was coming of age, coding was a little bit longer, a little bit more verbose. The prime object-oriented languages all operated that way. So let's go ahead and try this and see if you get the same result where it can read today. Now, what's fun is if you can adjust the date and time, then most likely, you know, you can pull the day back. I'm not going to do that. But you can see how it adapts to whatever is running today. But let me say this. Whenever you go to a website, it says, hi, welcome to CNN. Today is Thursday, Jan 5. You say, well, isn't that smart? I wonder if somebody went in there and wrote in today's date on the web page. And no, it's JavaScript making your site feel more human. So that's how that works. But also, what I want to say is the date object is also of interest to us. And if you're kind of looking to add more richness to your JavaScript, the best place to look is probably Mozilla MDN, or the Mozilla Developer Network. And this is probably the most technical place to learn JavaScript and CSS, HTML. They make it their mission to kind of open up the web so everybody can be web developers. I find that it's kind of Silicon Valley roots means that everything that goes on in MDN is really for college level people and beyond. Like, I wouldn't ask for my high schoolers to go and rob the knowledge of MDN Typically, things here are technical, unapologetically technical. But what's good about that is that a student can go in here and read it a little bit, grow from reading it about it, and then get some very valuable syntax examples. Now here is all of the permutations of date. We're very, very detailed date. But imagine the value of using the date feature if you're working in a very high-level website, like the Security and Exchange Commission website, where the SEC says, hi, we're the SEC, we're trying to do a good job. If you upload a document to the SEC, well, it could be a billion-dollar document. It could be valuable to public markets, but probably sec.gov wants to capture the date and time that you submitted that document. They want to retain that somewhere. So there's very deep features related to the date prototype. So there's also, so today we use getDay, which returns an integer. But these, they have lots of wonderful examples that you can borrow from. So Mozilla MDN is probably a great place for you all to get inspirations, get ideas. Here's gets the full year. We could probably slam that get full year into our code somewhere. It's going to be, I think, a number. So you could just try that out in your JavaScript and see where it goes. So very good. Okay, well, let me put this up here for you guys to check out. And then we'll call that the end of this movie.